I'm Christy O'Connor of Art Hustle. I would like to introduce you to Cheryl Gross and Nicelle Davis today. Nicelle and Cheryl are currently exhibiting with us now through September 19th in our current exhibition, Thoughts and Prayers, Another Round of Vacant Stares, in collaboration with Shishama Madawan. Thoughts and Prayers, Another Round of Vacant Stares is an analysis of American gun culture. This exhibition highlights artwork that examines the impact guns have within our nation as a symbol of power and freedom, or as an instrument to incite fear and cause harm. Firearms affect all American populations and demographics. The artwork featured in this exhibition is meant to facilitate a dialogue on the divisive iconology empowered of guns and the power or fear they represent, as they allow some to become empowered while suppressing others. Thoughts and Prayers, Another Round of Vacant Stares is a group exhibition featuring 29 artists and additional visual contributions from the nonprofit organization Gays Against Guns. So I'm going to first talk to you about Cheryl Gross. Cheryl was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Cheryl Gross is an illustrator, painter, and motion graphic artist living and working in the New York area. She is a professor at Pratt Institute and Bloomfield College. Cheryl received her BFA and MFA from the Pratt Institute. Gross's work centers on political, social commentary that involves such issues as gender obliteration, extinction, and the effect that globalization, gentrification have on our society. Given the progress of transgendering, gender obliteration may not be too far off in the future. These topics have not been accepted until very recently, and considering our present political climate may very well be in jeopardy. A quote by Nicelle Davis, who is also joining us today, explains her statement rather clearly. Death is a charmer. Nothing makes us feel more alive than brushing shoulders with him at a bar, in our cars, or at 5,000 feet in the air. Every time we risk and survive, there is a thrill. We feel like we won more life because we are not the ones dying. There's something sexy about death, how when poachers take a machete to the face of an elephant, the gaping wound resembles a wet vagina, how sex is always better once it's gone, and when whalers take a grenade harpoon to a whale, even more so when an entire species is gone, how life looks for life even inside a zoo. But death is a trickster. We can never win at his game. We might be living, but our humanity is dying. Soon there will be nothing of our lives worth living for. Gross's materials include water-based mixed media. She starts by spilling coffee onto the surface, lays down the foundation and design of the work. She uses gouache, watercolor, acrylic, graphite, ballpoint, India ink, color pencils on paper. The work is colorful and has a graphic novel comic book type format. Her layering process includes writing that she incorporates and uses as mark making to help carry the narrative. Her work has often been compared to Dr. Seuss on crack. And I have been familiar with your work, Cheryl, for a little while now through the nonprofit organization Pro Arts based in Jersey City. And I've been drawn to your work for a while. There's just this raw quality to it and this pointedness that I really appreciate it. There's a very unapologetic nature to it that I really just appreciate about your work. But what I did not know was that you collaborate. Go ahead.
Thank you.
But one of the things I did not know about you was the animations you do and the collaborations that you do with Nicelle. So I'm going to introduce Nicelle at this point. Nicelle Davis is a California poet, collaborator, and performance artist who walks the desert with her son JJ in search of owl pellets and rattlesnake skins. Her poetry collections include The Walled Wife, Red Hen Press, 2016, In the Circus of You, 2015, Becoming Judas, 2013, and Cirque, 2011. Her poetry film collaborations with Cheryl Gross have been shown across the world. She has taught poetry at Youth for Positive Change, an organization that promotes success for Youth in Secondary Schools, MHA, Volunteers of America in their Homeless Youth Center, and Red Hen's WITS program. She is the creator of the Poetry Circus and collaborator on the Nevermore Poetry Festival. She currently teaches at, how do I pronounce that? Parklet High School?
Actually, I'm at Knight High School now. So
Okay.
I'm at Knight High School. I need to update that. Thank you.
No problem. So, yeah, let me find your faces again. There you are. So, yeah, so I was very interested. Cheryl, I've been following your work for a while. I hope that doesn't sound weird.
Flattering.
I had no idea that you did these animations and collaborations with Nicelle, and they just really piqued my interest. And I guess I wanted to know more about your relationship, how the two of you met, and what the collaboration process is like for the both of you, because you work in such different mediums.
Okay, well, we met through Broadsided Press, which is an online magazine.
Okay.
And, it couples poets and artists. You don't necessarily have to be an illustrator. So what Liz Bradfield, who is the she's the
Editor mastermind, basically.
yeah, I was just about to say editor and mastermind. Yeah. So so she posts poetry, and then she puts it out there for the artists to choose whether they want to work with a certain poem or whatever. So was it like 10 years? 10, 11 years already. Nicelle posted a poem called Composition 101. And I read it, and I was like quite disturbed by it. I thought it was like, wow, you know, this is like really very truthful. It was about molestation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it was, and I said to myself, I said, well, who would want to illustrate this? And I said to myself, well, I could do it. And I did.
And you know what's funny? I'm jumping ahead a little bit to the animation that's in the exhibit, but when I first watched the animation, it was and you know, along with the words, it was very jarring for me, and it really put me on edge. And were moments when I was going back and forth considering this piece, whether or not I could exhibit it. And a part of me was like, I'm censoring, like just that idea was like, wow, I would never consider censoring someone else's people and whatnot. And so I was like, why am I getting that reaction of censorship right now? So, yeah. Nicelle, so tell me a little bit more about your poetry and your background.
Oh, okay. I think it's interesting if we ever have time in this interview for you to like sort of speak on that moment of like, whoa, this is so jarring, you know, because I do feel like that video in particular, and like our next little video, they're a lot of work. They're not little. On the precipice of extinction, like both of those, I think really hit people in a weird spot. So we kind of had some like real sort of quick, like some really quick success with the other ones, but these ones I think just like hit people in a very strange spot emotionally. And so just to have like an audience member sort of speak to that at some point would be really helpful, you know, because I'm always curious.
Well, you know, it's the words and the animation, like it's all very beautifully done. It's just there's something about it that strikes a chord that that really brings out this feeling of discomfort. I don't know if I've experienced before with a piece of artwork.
Yay! Sorry.
No, I think that's a really that's a compliment.
Thanks. Well, I mean, I really enjoy working with Cheryl, of course. Like, she's very, for me, super easy to work with. So, and I could speak more to that background as well. But so, as a poet, I mean, I'm also a performance artist. And so I'm really into anything that's immersive. And so, like with The Wild Wife, like I spent 2 years, not the whole 2 years, but on and off again doing performances where people buried me alive. So I'm very much into, like, if you're going to write about something, you should try to approximate the experience, or you should have lived the experience, right? So I have an MFA from Riverside. I've worked a lot with youth. In fact, this is so uncomfortable, but like I'm teaching a literacy class right now as we're doing this interview. And so the kids are taking a reading inventory test basically to see what level their reading is at, which is, so I've always worked and maybe like lived a little bit kind of like on that edge. And so when I really think about it, like the reason I became a poet, I think, was overcompensation in a lot of ways. So my father cannot really read or write, which is something I haven't really spoken to ever before. And so I think for me, I was like, so afraid, and I do have like dyslexia, like things move around on me and stuff like that. And so for me, language was always like this wild animal, and I just wanted to, like, I don't know if I wanted to tame it, but I wanted to be close to it. And so so in that sort of process, I became a poet because it just felt like, I guess it felt hoity-toity. Like I felt like I could basically sort of like earn my right to be in that world, like the world of language. And so so like something like active shooter, I mean, that happens, you know. So that's kind of like the town I live in, and that was my experience as a teacher. You know what I mean? So for me, it's really hard because I don't know how jarring it is, because it just feels like reality to me. And so I'm always sort of surprised that it's surprising, right? Like to me, it just feels like truth. And what I really love about Cheryl, like right now I'm working on a project about serial killers, and she's like, okay, Nicelle, let's see how we can make this normal, right? I'm like, I thought it was normal, right? So so Cheryl's just a really wonderful person for me to work with, because she's willing to kind of just take me at face value and say, oh, this is Nicelle's truth. And so now how do we actually translate that to a more general public, you know? And so, I mean, Cheryl, I think we're like in a strange way, like soulmates. Like our initial email exchange did not make any sense. Like I literally, like we were in Broadsided together, and then I emailed her. I'm like, I'm nobody. I live in the desert, but I'd love to write books with you. And she's like, what do you have in mind? And I'm like, well, I'm writing about sideshow freaks having sex. She's like, yeah, I could work with that. So send me what you got and we'll go from there. Right. And then we had a year-long exchange of emails that were like maybe 2 sentences long, but like they were able to like really convey so much, like maybe too much information. But Cheryl's partner had just left her about the same time that my husband had walked out on me. And so these 2-sentence emails were about the work, but they were also about healing and our lives and just like kind of being human in the world as it is. And it just kind of grew from that. And then if it's been 11 years, it feels like 11 years just flies by so fast, you know? So, and it's really hard to stop working with Cheryl. Like I'm sad when we're not actively in a project together, because I mean, it's nice for someone to get you, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I think people also see me and like the image of what they see and what I write don't go together either. And so I think that's very jarring for people too. And Cheryl just takes it all. She's like, oh yeah, it all goes together. That makes perfect sense, right? And so it's like having a translator.
Oh, wow.
Even though I'm the writer, she's the one that translates.
So that was actually going to be one of my questions. does the collaboration always start off with your poetry and your reactions to the poetry, Cheryl?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and Nicole, do you give Cheryl feedback on whether or not, like what does that collaboration look like? Does work evolve based off of conversations and reactions you have with one another, or it is what it is?
You know, it's, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a back and forth. I mean, we're constantly in conversation. Sorry, we're like going on a Zoom tour of my house now. Sorry, guys. Classic. But honestly, like Cheryl is so easy for me to work with that I wish I could say that I swear to you, she can read my mind. And and we have like Sunday check-ins, like Cheryl will give me a call and we'll just kind of talk about what's going on in her neighborhood and I'll talk about what's going on in my neighborhood. And I think it's this really strange thing where we come at it slant. So we talk to each other like friends. And then I think through that friendship, that's how we communicate where we're going to go artistically next. And so I think that's why in some ways it works so well. It's not like there's an agenda or an expectation. There's no expectations. Oh my gosh, I just realized that. Like there's just delight and surprise. And so it just makes it easy. It not just easy, it makes it delightful. Like every time Cheryl calls me up, she's like, so you want to work on something? I'm like, oh yes, please. Please, anything. So, and then she also is just, you know what Cheryl is really good at? Like I've given her a couple manuscripts and just like, that's not for me. Like that's not me. And it's that simple. And so then we just move on to a different idea. I'm talking too much. I'm sorry, Cheryl.
That's okay.
Keep talking. It's good.
Keep talking.
Saying good stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to say good stuff. It feels good. It feels like I just feel like we lucked out. Like it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not a very judgmental person. So, you know, whatever she has to say, it's important. You know, it's not like, oh, you should get over it, or you know, you should move on, or any of this other bullshit that people tell you, you know, or say to you, you know, just to make themselves feel better. And you know, if we're talking about something that hurts, it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you know, the active shooter event was like, that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Not funny. I know I'm laughing.
No, yeah,
No,
no, I
but
get it.
But it's a really fucked up thing.
Yeah.
And for it to have to happen the way it happened to you was like, excuse me? I mean, like, you're in a room filled with like little kids, you know, how dare you? But this is the way the cops are, you know.
Yeah.
And it's sad, you know, and I don't want to seem to be anti-police, you know, but I have my reservations about the police.
Yeah.
Some are okay.
Sorry, guys. One second.
I'm not going to judge, but even though I have, but yeah, no, she'll give me something, and I'll just say, well, okay, so how do I make it more palatable? You know, how, you know, and our last one, which is Commit to Memory, The Precipice of Extinction. We're in one festival, rejected from a few, and these are video poetry festivals. So like, you know, in my opinion, you know, we shouldn't be rejected, we should be accepted. Because it's video, well, it's animation video and it's poetry, and it's well written, and each one that we do is better and better, you know, just better. So the last one that we did, we were just accepted into a festival, but unfortunately, it's in South America, and I have to. The unfortunate part about it is that I have to put Spanish subtitles on it. But it's great that we got in the festival, you know, I mean, that's just more work that I have to do on top of everything else. So, but like, that's okay. You know, we'll get through it. Yeah.
what is the work involved in creating one of these animations? Because I'm assuming there's, you have to create multiple panels, Cheryl, and
Yeah.
so what is that process like?
Well, I work, it's twofold. I work outside the computer, painting, drawing. If I need a picture of a gun, I will, either create it or find a photograph that I can manipulate. Also, I work in Photoshop and After Effects. After Effects actually is the animation process.
Okay.
Photoshop, I can shoot my work or scan it in, that's outside the computer, like my paintings, and cut it up into Photoshop, different layers or whatever, and then import it into After Effects, and then I can make things move.
Wow.
So that's how it goes. That's basically it. That's not to say that, like, there's designing involved, there's timing, a lot of timing.
Yeah.
I like to work with audio, simply because I can get the timing down.
Yeah. And so how much are you sharing your progress with Nicelle as you go?
Oh, I don't know.
Cheryl's fast. That's part of the thing.
I'm fast, but yeah, as soon as I feel like something's completed, or to a certain degree, then I'll send it on.
Yeah.
I don't. I usually have something in mind, like with the last one, with the elephants, in Commit to Memory. It's basically about elephants being butchered. So I had an idea, and I completed the idea, and to the audio, and I sent it on to her, and she was like, "Oh wow, this is great."
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it kind of goes like that. So I'm on the West Coast. I'm close to Hollywood, right? So I'm just really fortunate to know a lot of composers and musicians and then actors, right? So that part's really kind of in a lot of like recording studio, like sound engineers and stuff like that. So for me, it's really fun because it's like I get to pull all my friends together. And then I think mostly like Cheryl is so smart because she's actually, a lot of the festivals are too far away for me to go to attend. But Cheryl's able to go and she can like see the audience reactions to things. And what we're learning is the audio is so important. So like the voice and how things are enunciated and all these factors, right? So I think as far as notes go, like Cheryl gives the most notes and it's basically about what does that audio sound like so that it can actually, so people can hear and understand the words, right? And so that can be really fun. So like there'll be an audio track and I'll actually be in with the composer or with the voice actors, and Cheryl's literally giving like, I don't know if she realizes this, but like real-time commentary on it. So she's like, oh no, I don't even know what that word is when he says it like that, right? So and then active shooters are really sweet project for me too, because Robert Fisher, who's part of the Willard Grant conspiracy theory, he did the vocals on it and had his band do the audio for it. And he's such a dear friend, and he ended up dying of prostate cancer a year later. And so it's just kind of got that. I'm always amazed at how documenting and recording things is so important. And I didn't even realize that would be my lasting memory of his voice, would be him doing that audio, right? So it's kind of, I mean, I'm always amazed at how art time capsules things that we don't even realize are so valuable at the time, so.
Yeah.
So Nicelle, would you like to talk to us about active shooter event a little more clearly before we shared the animation?
I think, speaking to what we've already had as a conversation, I was so amazed at how normal this situation was for the school I was teaching at the time. So when I presented this as an issue to like my dean or like the president of the college or the police officers that were actually involved, like this was just a normal day. And I would even say, like, to the students, like the students felt like I was upset for them, and for them it was just kind of a reality that they lived in. And so for me, it was definitely a moment of recognizing my own white privilege, you know what I mean? And then also not wanting this to be okay. Like nothing about this should be normal, right? So I think that's what's so interesting is like viewers are so upset by something that I was told repeatedly was normal, right? And so it makes me wonder where normal exists. So, I mean, that's how I kind of feel about the story anyways.
Yeah, and actually, well, when I watch it, I think to myself, nothing about this is okay. So,
Got it. Oh, good. Awesome.
yeah. So I'm gonna share the video at this point. So let me get to the screen. And this is on the Art Hustle website currently until September 19th under digital media. And so this is, the full title of this is The Poster Reads, Active Shooter Event, and it's illustrated by Cheryl Gross, and it's in collaboration with Nicelle Davis, who created the words and the poetry for this.
The poster reads, Active Shooter Event. You mistake it for a college band flyer or haunted house ad. Faceless, Grim Reaper, no, hoodie without a face. And this is why you don't understand when 6 cops burst into your classroom, point pistols at your head, press fingers where bullets would go, say, you're dead. Then turn towards your students, but mostly your favorite, Lisa, who you'd bet a silver dollar on getting out. Guns aim, they die. Dead. You see her for the first time. How young Lisa is, how skinny, how black. Alive, you saw none of this. Knew her by her smile. Front row, she's smiling now, as though teeth could shield a bullet. The guns look at your students, and the cops say, you're all dead. And you die again. When they leave, you lock the door, sit in the dark together, just like the poster must have instructed. After an hour, Lisa admits she's pissed herself. You walk out to see what's really going on. This is California, so the center of the building has no roof. A tree grows in the courtyard. On the first floor, mental health offices. Second floor, child services. Instructors crack jokes about one-stop shopping. You could shop here. You find yourself cracking. You think of the next 2 classes you have to teach today. Will guns attend? You think of the girl who came to class in her bra. I spent $20 for this. I want people to see it. It's beautiful. And truth? You understand $20 because you live here too. So you tell her to take a seat, and you continue lecturing on how it was. The mothers binding the baby's feet, cutting off first their daughter's toes, then their heels. You teach about blood and where it comes from. You remember Miss M, just back from Iraq, on the day you read Ode to a Nightingale out loud. At the line, "Thou wast not born for death," she throws a chair at you and shouted, "You want us to feel stupid." So you said, "Outside, now." And there she fell and kept on falling, like a baby in your arms. You offered her a different assignment, a different way of talking to each other. You told her what you couldn't before. You don't know what a good chance is anymore, other than it implies something different might happen. And she asked, "How can you not know? You're the teacher." She used what you taught about descriptive language in her next paper on the effects of PTSD and being raped by her own unit. Again, you see the gun, Lisa's face, and tears seem the only substitute for bleeding. You feel so full of blood you might break open. Lately, you cry all the time, mostly in your car. This is California, so you can drive away half of every day. But you're not in your car now, and Lisa's waiting in the dark, wet and ashamed. When you ask the cops, they say you should have read the poster. When you ask the cops, they say they were just having a little fun. And you believe them. These men you talked to just the other day about pumping rubbing alcohol out of your neighbor's belly. We're just fighting to keep the whole thing from going up in flames. And you thought thing as in person, when they meant thing as in neighborhood. And you felt lost at your own front door. Now you see Lisa's smile, a light that burns nothing. There's a grid you want to get on, help others get on. Lines like a road towards being counted as human. You'd give anything for your car right now, to do as you teach, bet that silver dollar on yourself and get the hell out. To be seen, recognized, not for dead, but as bleeding. You were dead, but now you're bleeding. You look at the poster the cop put in your hands. Make yourself invisible. Your life depends on it.
I probably should have stopped playing the video before I stopped the share. Let me see. I think it'll just stop on its own, the music, yeah. Yeah, so it's a really intense thing to watch. And like I said, it brings these jarring emotive feelings out of me that I've never really felt with a piece of artwork before. And I think that's, that says a lot about the piece in general.
Well, that's really amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I mean it.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I'm so sorry. I think like the big objective of everything that Cheryl and I do is we just want people to care.
Yeah.
And so to have someone like lifetime care like in front of us, I mean it's really powerful, like because it's hard to know. It's hard to know if people care. So thanks for taking a risk on us. It always feels good. It always feels good when someone's gambling for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Also, these topics are really timely. You know, it's gender issues.
Yeah, one of my one of my publishers actually was like, too bad that video came out 5 years too soon, right? And I was like, but the truth was 5 years ago, so I don't know what too soon is either. You know what I mean? So,
you know, play it now. You know, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that might have been like one of the things I was thinking about when I was curating the exhibition. I was the incident with George Floyd had just happened, and a part of me was worried I'd be triggering the community I live in, and in a negative way, and I didn't necessarily, I was worried about doing that. And also, I was really trying to self-analyze while I was watching the video to really introspectively think about what about the film was giving me the reactions and emotions I'm feeling. And a part of it is I used to teach elementary school for 10 years. And a lot of the language back and forth that you used in that animation, I recall happening, like the specifically, you want to make us feel stupid line, for instance. I recall an interaction like that as well, and just I think the whole interactions between white people and Black people, it's uncomfortable to address those issues head on. Hello.
I think for me, it's really important as a poet that the speaker, whoever the persona is not innocent, nor right, nor wise. You know what I mean? So, I mean, in a lot of times, I think, especially in this, I mean, it's hard. Like, I think the speaker in this poem specifically is is just as villain as anything else that's in the poem, right? So, I mean, it's not easy. I don't think it's supposed to be easy,
Yeah.
but it might be worthwhile. I do not want to create things that trigger, though I do think a lot of what Cheryl and I do is triggering. But but what I really want is rhetoric. Like, I want a conversation, like a place where everything's so raw that, like, you can only talk about it. Like, there's, like, you can only ask more questions and have a conversation over it. So, and that's it's hard to find that place.
Yeah.
It's just as dangerous as a trigger, right? Only hopefully there's more room for people to be in a room together there. I'm not sure. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm glad I have Cheryl with me to try to figure it out, but
well, I'm more of an observer. Yeah, that's really it. If I see something that I find odd or whatever, I have a tendency to just observe and try. And as I said, I try to reserve, judgment, but that's not always possible. But observations are observations.
Yeah.
And that's where I draw from, So so if you're telling me that George Floyd somehow deserved it or didn't deserve it or whatever, well, okay, perfect. Like, let me just see the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even necessarily need to form an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the funny part about me. I have a tendency to see things from different sides.
Yeah.
So, it's like when people talk about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, I'm like, well, yeah, I get it. and I understand both sides. I don't necessarily agree with one or the other, but I can definitely see how it evolved and how it's happening and why it's happening. And is it right? No. Is it wrong? I don't know. But it's an option.
Cheryl, yeah. Cheryl is so comfortable in the gray. Like I'm not. Like I am a mess. So like most of our relationship is Cheryl talking me off of the cliff, you know, because I'm like, I just want to be good, which is ridiculous because it's absolutely impossible to do. And I'm so fixated on being on the right side of history, you know what I mean? But like there's all sorts of complications that go into that. And so having Cheryl as a partner is super helpful, because that I think my anxiety is sometimes what pushes it forward, but she keeps me from like just unraveling in it, right? She's like, no, there's a whole lot of gray here, right? So stop teetering on the cliff's edge, just come back and we'll like explore what there is to look at all this stuff. So I mean, I can only hope that everyone has a Cheryl in their life.
Still looking for one.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I forgot what I was going to say, but it was important, but it may
Sorry,
come back.
Cheryl.
Well, it's important to just, just go with it and not form an opinion. And it's not that I hold you in a certain place. It's that I just want to make things, actually, I'm a very literal person. I take things literally. And that's how I started illustrating and embracing narrative, because it's literal. It's not necessarily abstract.
Good show. Thank you. Someone came in the gallery.
That's a really nice looking face mask.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fashion accessory. People don't realize.
It is. Yeah, going into the abstract, I have a tendency to abstract things in a different way, in a visual way, not necessarily in a literal way, which is, I think, what a lot of artists do.
Yeah.
A lot of performance, and I have a friend who in Germany who she's performance, and she her work is like incredibly abstract, and it's like, oh, okay,
Yes. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
It's right to the.
Always edit it out.
That might be my favorite part, honestly. Like, I don't know if you know.
People are coming in the gallery. It's exciting.
I know. People are coming to galleries. And my poor kid, my little 12-year-old boy is like trying to hide in the background. He's like, I need food, So.
My dog's in the bathroom.
Oh my God, is he? We're going to go check on the class I'm supposed to be teaching. Oh my gosh. This is why.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. I lost my train of thought.
Very easy. So abstract. My friend Claudia, she's performance-based artist and installations, and her work now is like incredibly abstract, and I think that's what a lot of higher art is about right now. And that's fine, but I think when we're dealing with like an issue like with Black Lives Matter or extinction or whatever, I think that we need to get more into the narrative and more into something that's a little more literal, so the common person can understand it.
Yes, and that's really what I appreciate about your work, is it's so like just very pointed. It's in your face. But what I find surprising is what you said, that you don't necessarily have an opinion. Like, from looking at your work, I've always assumed I knew what your opinion was, and now it's making me, wonder
Well,
what is her opinion on this particular
well,
piece that she made.
it's not that I don't have an opinion. Yes, I do have an opinion about guns,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm reserving my opinion about what Nicelle is saying, simply because I have to interpret it.
Yes. Okay.
So,
I understand.
yeah. So, no, I think like a lot of things are fucked up, but, or not, but I have to be objective. That's the role of the illustrator, is to be objective. Like many years ago, I worked for a company that was implementing nuclear power and building plants. And so I met with this one guy, and he said, well, I bet you think that nuclear power blows up. And I said, no, I think it blows down. And I'll tell you why I think that. And I said, because I've been reading about it, because I'm going to be doing this illustration for you. And it was about employee safety. It wasn't, pro or con. It was just, here we have these poor souls that are working in the plant, and this is what they got to do in order to be safe. So, so I had to take, like, however I felt about nuclear energy, which I did not like it at all. I was like really against it, but I had to put that aside, and then I had to illustrate it. Also, I worked for Catholic Charities, and they gave me an assignment to do about birth control.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, seriously, guys? I mean, like, this is still an issue, I mean, like, come on. But, I went in and I did the work, and it was palatable. It was missing people, in a family. Question marks. So it wasn't too, like, oh my God, like, nobody used birth control, everybody uses birth control, whatever,
Yeah.
And but when I went in to meet the art director, and she looked at my portfolio, and I was doing a lot of work. It was in the 80s, and I was doing a lot of work for the Advocate, and had a lot of stuff to do with AIDS. I was like appalled. I said, well, I guess I blew this gig. And I did.
Yeah.
So whatever, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, honestly, the fact that you can still create based off of subject matter that you don't necessarily agree with is really impressive to me. Because if there's something that I know I couldn't possibly, if someone gave me a topic that I didn't agree with and asked me to make something based off it, I wouldn't be able to make anything that looked any good.
Well, it depends. Like I'm not going to work for somebody like the Republican Party.
Yeah.
It's just that completely goes against my principles. Rush Limbaugh, his office called me up once, and let me tell you, they were like weird. They were really weird, and said, we want an illustration about, like, a dirty, disgusting hippie that whatever, I don't even remember what it was about. And I said, I used to be a dirty, disgusting hippie. And she goes, oh. I said, I don't know if I'm the right person for you. I try to be nice about it, but
Yeah.
no, I don't accept everything. No, no, but if I feel that it's going to do an ounce of good, then yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So, is there anything else that Cheryl or Nicelle you'd like to share before we wrap up the interview?
I just love working with Nicelle. She doesn't tell me what to do. I don't tell her what to do. It's like we leave our creative process to each other. I don't say, hey, don't write that.
Yeah.
And she doesn't say, don't draw that, don't paint that, don't make that. So we, that's good. Like the only thing is, like she said, tweaking. Sometimes we have to tweak the audio. Sometimes,
Mhm.
we have to add something in, whatever, So that's about it. It's just a matter of editing.
Yeah.
And it's not like we agree or disagree. It's just like, hey, I didn't catch that word, or hey, I heard that in the background and that's not good enough. Whatever. That's, whatever.
I think you're such a great interviewer, honestly, because I just learned so much in this interview process. I don't know if anyone else is, but like I learned a lot as far as like what I think what Cheryl's meaning is, I mean, like the thing is she meets the moment for what the moment is without judgment, even though she has like really passionate beliefs. And then I was thinking about what makes the collaboration work. And a lot of it is just recognizing how small you are in the large, like momentum of things, like the world of things. But that doesn't mean you stop, you just keep moving through it. Right. And then you become part of the story. You know what I mean? So like, especially with the larger issues that are happening right now, like it's very anxiety inducing. Like, how do you do something good? How do you like fight to protect people? How do you, become part of the story? And working with Cheryl, like what I realize is I'm already part of the story, but now I have to carry my share of it. Right. So if I want to be alive in the moment in this world, then I need to pick it up and keep walking with it. You know what I mean? And so this was awesome. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks so much.
Thank you. No,
I have to say, Nicelle, you are the story.
Sometimes, but
you are the story, and then I become part of the story, and then we are the story. So that's a collaboration.
Yeah, well, I guess
go ahead, Nicole.
I just feel like art is such a trick. I mean, like it's a trick in lots of different ways. I mean, Warhol already said it was a trick, but the trick is like we do exist. You know what I mean? Like I think it's very easy to sort of write yourself out in this like, sort of existential crisis, But when you make art, it's for better or for worse, you exist, and that has value and is meaningful. And even if no one ever sees it, you know what I mean? Even if it just repels everyone and does the opposite of what your intentions are, at least for a moment you take up space in the world, It's kind of lovely. So yeah, anyways, thanks for letting me take up some space in the world for a minute.
Again, the piece is there. It just touches on such a difficult topic, and it does so in such a raw way, which made me both really consider it so hard and at the same time really question myself as a curator that I was considering censoring something because of the way it was making me feel. and like I felt like I was having an existential crisis in a way, because I recognized what an amazing piece of artwork it was, but at the same time I was also just considering how other people would react to it and like why it was just really making me question myself in some ways. And so that's a good thing, and it's a beautiful piece, and
well, thank you.
Yeah,
thanks. If it makes you feel better, we feel the same way. We feel the same way about it. So, but yeah. Thanks.
But I want to thank both Cheryl and Nicelle. Thank you both for joining us for this online interview today.